Walty, they're turning all these cool riders into Karens and snowflakes by making these tracks too cookie cutter and predictable. This is insanity.
Uh-oh, don't look now. Even the Hurricane says these tracks are too cookie cutter. Hey everybody, Walty Wanderers, buckle up, strap in. We got a hard-hitting, pull no punches, no sugarcoating it, no rainbows, no sunshine. I'm just going to give it to you and give it to you straight. We got a good one to unpackage today. Welcome to the show. I hope everybody's doing great. So here we go. Back in the day, right? I always like to talk about back in the day. Nobody's more back in the day than Bob Hurricane Hanna. He was one of our first, I guess, superstars of the sport, personalities. Has a huge personality. Back in the day, a lot of those dudes had huge personalities. Even in my era, the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of characters, and they were all born from these Hurricane Hannas and these Johnny O's, and just like all these guys that were kind of before my time, like my brother's time, right? And I was just like a mini rider back when those dudes were racing. But I remember them, and I'm sure I had pictures on my room. That was way back in the day. If you're my age, you remember you had picture. You go get the latest whatever motocross action or whatever magazine, and you slam photos or pictures all over the walls of your rooms. That's what we had, right? And so yeah, I mean it was pretty cool, but. Reality is this, now the Hurricane's breaking the silence, and this is what's so rad. As you get older, I know a lot of the kids...
It's like, why do they talk about back
I heard like Hunter Lawrence, because he was crying about how, probably, because one of my videos went viral, and I was like, back in the day. And he's like, all these old guys want to talk about back in the day, and, if that's so good back in the day, they should just go back, or something like that. But anyway, I'm like, whatever, dude. The reality is this. Back in the day was the heyday of the sport. Without back in the day, you're not riding for Honda. You're not getting the type of money that you're getting right now. Back in the day built it, and this is the challenge. We're getting away from that, right? Because Wall Street has infiltrated the industry. The guys that run the sport now don't even know how to start a bike, much less ride one. Back in the day, the industry was the industry, right? We still have a lot of companies that are out there that love moto, that love what they do, they ride too, but the people pulling the strings, the puppet masters, they could care less about it. All they're looking at is bottom lines and how can we juice this for more money. Let's go sell some donuts. Let's sell some fan fest. Let's sell whatever we can. Back in the day, you got free admission to the pits. Or at least it was usually free with admission. You got to go to the pits, and there was a pit party. Vendors were giving out promotionals all the time. I remember back in the day, it wasn't too long ago, in the 2000s, like Skoal was there handing out their latest chewing tobacco for free. We're like, this is rad, stoked. Would never see that now. Back in the day, I remember even going to do a 1,000 shirt giveaway in the pits during Supercross when I launched MotoStar, and I was doing a bunch of cool stuff, and then I got squashed by Feld. They're like, you can't, sorry, because you're going to interfere with our merchandise truck sales. If you're out here I'm hooking up the fans, bro. Without the fans, you ain't got no merchandise truck. You think they're going to, I'm giving away a MotoStar tee. They still want an event tee. Unless they get a piece of the action, they ain't in it. And those donuts that are being sold, of course they're getting a piece of the action. Those fan fests, that isn't going to Hunter and Jet or even Honda. It's going to Feld. In the industry, that's where that money's going. You want to pay, it's pay to play like never seen before. And here's the challenge, friends. A lot of that we could deal with. But one thing we can't deal with is these tracks now becoming so predictable. The only variable now, maybe they're going to throw a wall jump or a sand section. That is about as much as you're going to get. Back in the day, and that's what Bob, and I can't run his interview, but my boy over at Fast Ride Co. sent me this.
In this recent video you can find on YouTube, the Hurricane blows the lid off it and says, today's riders aren't as good because all the tracks are built to an exact spec, cookie cutter. He said back in his day, the jumps, everything were changing constantly, keeping you on your toes.
See what's happening now? We used to have basically the four big Japanese brands, which left a lot of room for the backbone of our sport, privateers. On the starting gate, you would have about half factory, half privateers. Now you have about 90% factory guys with 10% privateers. And that's where it's going now. So the privateers are just getting squashed out like the middle class are right now from our economy. This privateer is slowly getting squashed out. So we look at all these channels that are in the industry's pocket, basically saying, it's so good, or even Ricky, Sorry, Ricky. It's
So good to have all these new manufacturers coming in. It's going to mean more money for the sport.
No, it's not. It's going to control the sport further because now you're going to have less and less opportunity for privateers. Unless you're a factory rider, you ain't making it to the gate. So something's got to change. We got to figure this thing out because we're certainly not going backwards with it. It's just basically now the brave new world. But these tracks, I mean, these teams now, they get a hold of these track maps and they're building replica tracks before they already ridden the track before they get to the race. They didn't have that back in the day. You showed up and the privateer had a chance because he's like, I got to learn this track too. And that's what Bob was saying. He's like, these riders, they've got the track figured out on the first lap because even if they didn't have a replica track back at the test track, they already know the obstacles. Triples are this long, whoops are this long, berms are either 180s or 90s. They know what's going on. And so, this is the challenge. I think you need some of these, that's why some of these tracks, like the outdoors can get good, or even the Daytonas and some of these other tracks. But all these stadium tracks now are just so cookie cutter. We need these things to become challenging. And that's why most of us got excited this year when we saw these tracks that actually got rain or rutted up. A lot of us wanted to see these guys' sheer talent on display, and there's no better way to display that talent from a nice, predictable track that they've been practicing on all week anyway. But the reality is this. We needed things to get shaken up. We needed it to get, it can't be so predictable. And that's what they're making it. They're making it super, super predictable.
Stop blowing the lid off it, Walty. We're getting paid, brother.
Now, the other caveat I have to talk about is, also everything's being sold now, from, like I said, donuts to fan fest to track walks to pit parties. They're not giving away stuff anymore. No more free giveaways. It's all pay to play stuff. And in the intermissions now, they're just KTM clearly is selling their electric bikes. They've paid to have this KTM challenge, right? They try to say, oh,
it's so the kids can get an opportunity. These are the future of our sport.
But we want to be entertained. And, unless you got a kid out there yourself, which most of us don't, 50,000 fans, and there's only 20 kids out there, you ain't got a kid. So you're not staying in your seat. And actually, that's probably why they do it. They don't want you in your seat. They want you buying donuts. Throw the electric bikes out there, then they'll leave and they'll go buy something. Where before, it wasn't about selling us something. It was about entertaining us. When we went home, we left with this experience. We were shocked. We were amazed. We were disturbed sometimes coming away from a race. I remember back in the day being disturbed sometimes, like, wow, like I saw some gnarly stuff go down during intermission. I had no idea. I didn't see that coming at all. And that's why we're seeing people like Bob Hanna, who remembers where the sport was. Even the McGraths, a lot of these guys remember this. And that's why they're on board too. I'm seeing more and more. Didn't you see that spot recently? They were doing it was like, I forgot, Monster Energy or NBC or one of these channels. And they asked the riders, if you could change one thing of the sport, what would it be? Because these conversations are happening and they can't ignore it. But they kind of made a joke out of it. Like, oh yeah, it would be nice, but we can't do that. Oh yeah, that'd be nice. And this is the challenge. The rule book is getting bigger, not smaller. It will never get smaller. The rules will continue to grow and grow and grow and grow until finally these riders are robots and they're afraid to even ride dirt bikes the way they grew up riding them. They're just going to have them so contrived, cookie cutter, watered down, don't rub, don't race, don't punch, don't fight. I know you're risking your life out there, but act like a snowflake. You cannot do that. In final thoughts, I come to you as a friend, as a content creator, as a moto fan. The waters you're swimming in now, shark infested, hurricane. Welcome to the swimming pool. Nice to see another X-Factory superstar speak up and point out some of the things that we've been pointing out now for a while too. This is what's going on out there. Knowledge is power. The more knowledge that we have and the more videos like this we can produce, maybe we'll see some new, more challenging tracks start to come back. Maybe we'll see intermission shows get a little more entertaining instead of trying to sell us something constantly. That's why I'll be here to blow the lid off it every step of the way. Because it's not only what we need, it's in fact what we deserve. If you appreciate the content, I want to humbly ask you to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Social media link in the description of this video if you'd like to follow me there, along with links to channels I've appeared on I think you might enjoy. If you enjoyed this video, you're going to love the next video, and there's an easy subscribe icon for your convenience. As always, thank you for your time. Don't go over the bars. God bless, and I'll see you on the next video.